Well, I'll tell you one thing. I landed. It was pouring rain when I landed. I'm like, I'm gonna be like a lobster in halfway through being cooked all day long. It is gonna be so hot and so muggy here in Philadelphia. It is brutal. I don't know how you live here. This is the hottest. It's like somebody wraps you in saran wrap and then just throws you out in the sun, squirts a little water on you, and walks away. This is humidity. Oh my goodness. So yeah, I get off the plane. It's pouring rain. It's funny. You reminded me of that horse that was on gate today. I didn't have much interest in him. I laughed like hell. If you guys want to laugh, go on gate and look at the write-up on, what was the name of the horse? Jack something. Boardwalk Jack. Yeah. Boardwalk Jack. I laughed when I saw the write-up Mark Weaver put on there. I was interested in a mare that was on there today. She doesn't have a lot of money made last 5. Always seems to make money. Just doesn't have a ton of money made last 5. Now, I noticed that my brother had driven her when she was 2 and 3 for John McDermott. He said, Anthony, I was second in the Empire Breeders to Test of Faith with this filly when she was 3. Now, he said I was longer odds, but she raced great and was a good filly. She's just a solid race mare. Second last week, paced 150-1 in Philadelphia last week.
Times don't mean anything.
Well, I know, but it's a good point. You're ruining my story, though. Time means something when I'm telling a story. It means nothing when you really break it down. So, disregard what Greg said. So the filly, but nevertheless, she did pace 50-1 last week here in Philadelphia. She doesn't have a lot of money made last 3. She got some back class. Nice mare. So we picked her up. It was $40,200, which I think is more than fair for any type of horse in that situation. There's got to be the condition claimers at Mohawk. We can race her anywhere. She has raced at Yonkers. So really, we can do whatever we want with her. I think we bring her back to Northfield, have the vet look at her, maybe train her up at Northfield, and then decide where we race her. Are we going to race her in Northfield, the Meadows? Are we going to ship her home to Ontario? I would say the favorite right now, the early favorite for the mare that we bought would be Ontario, if I was to guess. But we will figure that out in the coming days. I believe Wendy probably has shares up. Do you remember her name by chance? You don't even know yet.
I didn't look at it yet.
I can't think of it. It's not even on the tip of my tongue. I can't think of it. Anyway, her shares will be up for sale soon enough. A number of people looking for, especially after we sold the horses the other day and old Kempy got claimed. Yeah.
Think of Galaxies or something?
Think of Galaxies. That's her name. I never would have got that. You know how people say, oh, it's on the tip of my tongue. It was nowhere near the tip of my tongue. Think of Galaxies is her name. So really happy to scoop her up. See where she fits, but I believe she'll be going home to Ontario. So we get to Philadelphia. I'm watching the auction, warming all the horses up. I thought Flash Fly and Pull the Shoes warmed up tremendously, and they did. Problem was, they're full of mucus. And you couldn't tell. It wasn't in their nose. It was all the way down their throat, into their lungs. Pull the Shoes actually had a trickle of blood, which isn't that shocking given this humidity and the mucus that was found in their airways. Both those fillies warmed up good, did everything they could, just not nearly enough. And Dave Miller and Aki got hooked up. I would have been 5th, I think, other than that. But I ended up just beat for 2nd at the wire. She tries her hard. Both those fillies, everybody tried as hard as they could today. I don't want to sound like the soccer mom, but everybody tried as hard as they could today. Obviously, the Gold Star goes to insider trading. I was really, really second-guessing myself about putting her in the Sire Stakes, but certainly not when I was halfway around the last turn. If I had, and the only reason I didn't have confidence, how could I? It's her first lifetime start. She won in 2-2, wrapped up. I couldn't have confidence in her, especially the first 2 raced poorly. I knew they were sick. This filly rode down with them. It's plausible to believe that maybe she was sick too. So I wanted to keep her out of harm's way. I didn't want to expose her, as I haven't been, but I cut her loose coming out of the last turn, and man, was she trotting going under the wire. She is a Sire Stake filly. The other fillies, I think, will just make real good Stallion Series fillies for right now, because for them to rebound, then get out of that class, jump classes with any sort of confidence you can make the final, that's the man that would know the analytics, and it's just not likely to happen. So insider trading will remain in the Sire Stakes. Affection will go to Kentucky. I was proud of her today. The only reason I wasn't going to beat the film. I say, oh, she would have won if she was tight. Maybe she would have, but she was definitely going to be 2nd. She raced as hard as she could today. Very, very happy with her. Another horse, Royal Emerald's coming off sickness, coming in short. Now we can say, oh, they trained up tight, but that's not a race. When you're off 18 days, you're off 18 days. And when you're coming in to race your second or third lifetime start against horses that raced 7-8 days ago, it is not the same thing. So Affection, we'll start all the way back to the start. Royal Emeralds, I thought, raced very good. You could tell she was just 100 yards short of being tight, and that's what happened. The last 100 yards, she faltered a bit. She would have been probably second otherwise. I was thoroughly impressed after looking at the entire body of work of Flash Fly and Pull the Shoes, knowing how their scopes looked after, and in hindsight grading them, they both did their work very, very well. They just couldn't do anymore. Flash Fly, she's turned into this solid, consistently trotting horse, which wasn't the way training down. I don't know if you watched many of the training videos training down. Flash Fly, pretty erratic filly training down, and has really turned into a rock in that filly division of ours, and today pitched the line right out. She just couldn't function with her airway the way it was, and her being sick, she just couldn't function. Pull the Shoes, same thing. Filly, I said to Tim, I've seen her do a lot of things, make breaks, make mistakes, get upset and frustrated with herself. You can feel it, you can tell. I've never seen her tired, but I saw her tired today, and then when we put that scope in, you can see why. Those two fillies both were a little bit sick. Royal Emeralds was good, a little bit short. Affection, good, a little bit short, and truthfully, could easily have excuses for insider trading going a mile and 56. I could give you a whole bucket full of them. She didn't need any. She was flying at the wire, and I know that Tim Tetrick thinks very, very highly of the filly that beat her at the wire. I think we have a good division of fillies. We knew we did, but I think we do. Affection is going to be exported to Kentucky and race in Kentucky in the Kentucky C division or whatever. We're gonna have a little fun with her. I think she was touching her jack today. We did vet wrap up the top of the boots just to see, and she tore the vet wrap off of the right boot, I'm not sure, right boot, I think it was the right boot, and didn't mangle it up. She wasn't sore on it. I showed her owners afterwards. They were over there, and I wanted to show the Cross family. You'd see where, there was swelling on her jack, and it was sore, but it's old. Even when I palpated it, you would think if she hit it and stung it today, it would be sore. If you hit your shin, it doesn't matter. Even months later, if you hit it in the same place, it hurts like a bugger. That would be the same thing as hitting that jack. And I grabbed it and I showed him. I said, this is all old. You can feel it. It's all old and gristly, but I think Kentucky would be very, very favorable for this filly. That surface, very forgiving surface, big long turns. I think Affection will be better suited for there. So we'll export her down to Kentucky. We will keep the other fillies in the Stallion division, and obviously keep insider trading in the Sire Stake division. Clean up the two fillies' sickness. That won't be a problem at all. So looking forward to these fillies for the rest of the summer. I was coming in thinking, would they make breaks? Would they race badly? A little flat, but everybody that was flat had a very, very good reason to be. The two fillies that hadn't raced in 2.5-3 weeks, the other two fillies scope sick. Can't blame them. As I said at the start when I started talking about them, very proud of the way everybody behaved today. Everybody tried as hard as they could. So Greg, like a ninja, showed up out of nowhere after the race. You need to ride to the airport. Couldn't be happier to see him. Greg saved the day again. Going to drop me off here. I'm going to jump on a plane, go back to Cleveland, get out, go race the last 4 horses in Cleveland, and hopefully we have a good night. I'd like to have a better night. Not that we didn't have a good day, but I'd like to have a better night in Northfield Park. So with that, I'm going to let you guys go. I'm going to talk to you all very soon. I got to catch a plane. Take care.